Hey, Parker Sutton here. The first known instance of the bee actually being kept dates back to ancient Egypt, 2450 BC. It took nearly another 2,000 years before beekeeping was brought to America by British settlers and another 200 years before it reached the West Coast. Now that we got the background out of the way, let's talk about the birds and the bees. Oh no, not that kind, silly. I'm talking about pollinators. In our entire world, we rely on pollinators such as bees, as well as bats, birds, to pollinate plants so that we can have delicious food like this apple here. Delicious. In the US alone, it is estimated that 80% of agricultural crops are dependent on bee pollination. Without our little black and yellow pollinators, the cotton and the dairy industry would be way more expensive. As we know, everyone loves honeybees. We humans have been drooling over its honey for millennia. But where does our honey come from? Today, I'm going out to Walnut Creek to interview an expert on beekeeping. Let's go.
I'm Caedmon and I own a small business called Honeycomb Financial, which does financial planning and investment management. I think the best way to get into beekeeping is to talk to somebody who's doing it already. And if you don't happen to know of anyone, there are usually local beekeeping clubs. There's one in Alameda County. I'm a member of the Mount Diablo Beekeepers Association, but there's a lot of hobbyists who are really enthusiastic about it and happy to help you.
My name is Sutton. I got into beekeeping after a friend of mine and I kept talking about his garden in his backyard. He has a lot of raspberries and other fruits and vegetables, and we both talked about this idea that wouldn't it be great if we had bees in our yard that could help both with the process of pollination, but also we could make some honey out of it. So we eventually got around to actually buying the hives and getting the bees and starting.
Beekeeping doesn't really cost a lot. You need to buy the hives, and that's the boxes where the bees end up living. There's some other equipment like having a beekeeping suit to protect you from the bees if necessary, a smoker, and a few other little tools that are good. So it's a little bit of expense up front, you know, a couple $100 maybe, but after that you really don't have to purchase a lot. For me, the benefits of beekeeping, I think there's a bunch of them. So for one, it's a really good way of sort of supporting your garden and the natural environment nearby. Bees are pollinators, so if you have fruit trees on your property, they'll help out with those as well as the flowers. I love the fact that you're harvesting the honey. That's really, I mean, it's yummy and it's really cool that you're actually getting something from the bees. Within the hive, there's many different roles, and the role that the bee takes has to do with its place in the life cycle. There's obviously the queen bee, right? And then most of the bees in the hive are the worker bees. They're all female, and they might have a job as a scout to go off into the surrounding natural area to look for good flowers and nectar sources and pollen sources. They might be a janitor, where they're cleaning up the various frames and bringing junk out of the hive basically to make it nice and clean. They might be a nurse, where they're taking care of the babies and working in the nursery. They might be an attendant to the queen and making sure the queen is staying fed, because the queen is basically laying babies all day. So lots of different jobs, somewhat analogous to the jobs that we have as human beings.
I think beekeeping is something that a lot of people could probably find very interesting and enjoyable.
You should expect to have fun. I think you should hopefully be a curious person, because the more curious you are, the more there is to learn about things. One thing I really love about beekeeping is that it's one of these hobbies that's passed down by people who really care about it.
I think there's a lot of different ways to get involved in beekeeping. One way is you might have a friend that's doing beekeeping and you want to kind of understand it and learn about it. But I think the best way is actually just to try it.